So many good stories to get through today. I hope you are very well. Harry and Meghan suffer an outrageous snub at a major awards show, only to be upstaged by the Prince and Princess of Wales. Plus, Princess Catherine makes a surprise appearance at the Buckingham Palace garden party with a brutal message for Meghan Markle as their bitter Cold War rages on. But first, new, deeply shocking allegations have emerged about Meghan Markle's bullying behaviour whilst a serving royal. Now, according to a top royal author, as final preparations for Harry and Meghan's royal wedding were underway in 2018, a formal tasting of the wedding menu was being held at Windsor Castle. Now, Meghan, of course, very particular about her food. She insisted, notwithstanding the enormous cost and inconvenience, that the food should be organic, health-focused, and often plant-based. After all, who wants to have fun at a wedding when you can eat clean? Now, apparently, she was very involved in curating the menu. Let's not forget that she controlled every aspect of that wedding. She went beyond her pay grade as the bride-to-be by deciding who the preacher was going to be, who was going to deliver the sermon, the outfits, the bridesmaids, the food, the decoration. What Meghan wants, Meghan gets, is a direct quote from Prince Harry at the time. Well, according to royal biographer Katie Nicholl, in her excellent book, The New Royals, the atmosphere during this tasting was incredibly tense, and Meghan became visibly upset when a dish that she expected to be vegan was found to contain egg. Can you imagine a guest at this royal wedding accidentally eating an egg? A complete disaster. So what happened? Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you, by the way, that my decaf today is certainly not vegan. It has a large splash of double cream. The double cream's in there because we have got so many good stories to get through. So here we go. Meghan, according to Katie Nicholl, who is a revered and brilliant journalist, I'm just checking that I don't have any residue from the double cream on my lips. Are my lips clean? I hope so. But my lips are not sealed because I'm going to tell you this whole story. So, Meghan reportedly snapped at a staff member involved in catering when the ingredient list was not to her expectations. She allegedly spoke sharply to the chef or planner in front of others in the room. Now, the quote, according to this excellent book, is, "How could this have happened?" This is allegedly what Meghan said. "How could this have happened? I told you I didn't want any egg in that." Although, let me give you the Meghan voice. "How could this have happened? I told you I didn't want any egg in that food." Now, another alleged comment came later from Meghan, who said, "I can't believe I'm not getting paid for this." So in other words, she's saying, listen, you're the professionals, you're the chefs, but I'll just have to do it myself, because she is an absolute egomaniac. She's got a podcast in which she interviews billionaire entrepreneurs and she tells them how to run a company. And by the way, she has sold 11 jars of strawberry jam, but apparently she's the new Jeff Bezos. And now she's tasting the food menu for her wedding, and she's tearing a strip off chefs, people whose job it is to prepare food for the public at events like weddings. And let's be honest, the chefs serving the royal family will be the best of the best of the best. Even Gordon Ramsay would have to audition for the role. So she says, allegedly, she says, "I can't believe I'm not getting paid for this." I mean, the arrogance of that. This is all according to Palace insiders, and indicated mounting frustration in the run-up to the wedding, which was a complete car crash nightmare. You had poor old Thomas Markle being cancelled by his own daughter, unable to walk her down the aisle. He said it was his health issues, a couple of heart attacks. I don't know about that. I think that he was being discreet and maybe avoiding, embarrassing himself and the family. I think that what happened with Thomas Markle is he was unwell because of the stress of being cancelled by his daughter. Do you remember his great crime, by the way? He had his photograph taken in an internet cafe by a paparazzi photographer. That was his great crime, as a result of which he was banished from the royal kingdom. By the way, here's what I would say. That when either of my children get married, I've got 2 boys, let's call them Elton and Bernie. If Elton gets married, or Bernie, less likely. Long story. But the thing is, careful, family show, what I would say is, I would be on my deathbed, I'd be at that wedding, wouldn't you? Don't you think there was a way to get Thomas Markle to that wedding? Of course there was. He was alive. As long as I had a pulse, as long as there was blood in my veins, I would be at the wedding of one of my sons, Elton and or Bernie. Of course I would. And I'm willing to guess, so would you. Would you allow ill health to be a reason to miss your child's wedding? I don't think you would, because you'd be thinking, well, life is short and this is a significant day and I will be there. Anyhow, so that was a debacle, obviously. Everyone is on tenterhooks. But Meghan is more concerned about the amount of egg in one of her vegan dishes. Staff present were said to be taken aback by her tone, particularly given the hierarchy and expectations of formality in the royal household. Now, Queen Elizabeth, who remains one of the greatest figures of British history, was made aware of the incident. Can you believe that this amazing woman who served as the head of state for the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth for 7 decades had to deal with a spoiled brat Z-list actress who is behaving allegedly very badly towards the staff, some of whom will be on $15, $20 an hour, unlike Meghan, who at that point was enjoying a life of luxury. Can you believe that the Queen had to be bothered about this? Now, the Queen, at the time, she's meeting presidents and prime ministers. She's meeting heads of state. She's a global figure. She's taking a weekly audience with the Prime Minister. She's delivering the Queen's speech with the government's agenda for that Parliament. The Queen Elizabeth was a very busy person and a remarkable, iconic figure. And she's got to be disturbed as she goes through her papers and signs royal warrants and possibly plans an invasion of France. I think that was unfinished business for the Queen. I think she'd have liked to have taken France back if she could. In her reign, I think she'd have liked to have taken France back. I think that was the only thing she would have changed. I think Elizabeth would have liked to take France back. And by the way, I have so many French viewers on the Mark Dolan Show. Bonjour, comment ça va aujourd'hui? J'espère que votre vie vont bien. Pourquoi pas? J'ai soif aujourd'hui. Alors, I love France so much. In fact, I have an A level in French. That's my commitment to France. But I think there are many people that would have enjoyed the Queen reigning over the French people. I think it would have been a dream. At the very least, a merger between the UK and France, I think, would be lovely. It would certainly improve the quality of the bakery goods in the UK, because French bread is better than English bread. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So Queen Elizabeth is busy. I think we can agree. Can we just establish that she's a global figure? She's got quite a lot going on in her life. Plus, she's an older lady, by the way. So when she's not driving her Range Rover and horse riding and opening hospital wings and signing royal warrants and preparing an invasion of France and all the other things that she busied her time with, she's now got to deal with someone that she'd never heard of called Meghan Markle, who appears to be a rather troublesome future granddaughter-in-law. So Elizabeth was made aware of the incident through the Lord Chamberlain's office and witnesses, local figures, aides, the help, basically, who witnessed the event. Now, the Queen prided herself on calm leadership and discretion and was highly sensitive to how staff were treated, which is why she was such a rock star. So, according to Katie Nichols' excellent book, she took the rare step of personally addressing Meghan, like she hasn't got better things to do. A reported quote from the Queen in Katie Nichols' excellent book. She said, well, shall I do the voice? Do I do the Queen voice? Never done the Queen voice before. It's not been workshopped. It's in beta mode. But it will be respectful. The Queen allegedly told Meghan Markle, "In this family, we don't speak to people like that." I think that was uncanny. I think you'll agree that was uncanny. "In this family, one doesn't speak to people like that." Now, this quote has become one of the most repeated lines associated with the Queen's quiet but firm handling of the tension. It was widely interpreted as a subtle but pointed rebuke. Of course it was. I mean, that was the Queen taking Meghan down. The Queen took Meghan down. She took her down to Chinatown, is where she took her down to. To Chinatown, where she did not receive noodles or sweet and sour chicken or dim sum. No way. And this was the magic, and this is the magic of the royal family. Do you have any idea how respectful King Charles is, how respectful Queen Elizabeth was, how respectful Philip was, how respectful they all were and are towards the staff? I'm very friendly with former bodyguards, ex-aides, former butlers to various frontline royals. And let me tell you, they don't have a word to say against Charles, against Catherine, against Edward. Remember him? Poor old Edward. Against Anne, of course not. We're going to do an Anne special at some point because I adore the woman. They got nothing bad to say about any of them. Even Andrew, who I've just been told by those in the know is an arrogant so-and-so, but he's not a monster, and he wouldn't dress someone down like that, saying, "I can't believe I'm not being paid for this. I might as well do it myself." I can't believe that this is what happened. So, the royals, they've got a code. And there's one person in particular who's a good friend of mine, and he's Grant Harold, who I want to get on the show because we are going to start doing interviews at some point. But there's just so much material for you and I to get through first. But at a certain point, I would like to run concurrently with this more or less daily show. I'd like to get bonus content out to you, including interviews with important, clued up journalists and royal insiders. Grant Harold is one such person. He would love to come on the show. I know he would. He's a friend of mine, so we will. But he's told me he just loved the Queen and he admired Charles and loved William and Harry before he turned. And he said that we were not made to feel, he told me we were not made to feel like employees. We were part of the household. Okay, I don't think he would go as far as to say part of the family because you have the royal family, but part of the project, part of the household, part of this royal community. And what does Meghan do according to this book? She goes and poisons that well with her extraordinary behaviour. And who wants a vegan-only diet at a wedding? What's next? Alcohol-free? Welcome to hell. You go to a wedding, you need some protein. It's a long day. Standing around, and especially for the church or the synagogue or the mosque, you're up and down, aren't you? You're up, you're out your chair, and then you're back down again. You're on your knees. You're praying for forgiveness. It's demanding. You need some chicken. You need some meat. You need maybe some ribs, I would say. At the very least, fish. At the very least, an egg. But Meghan banned that because she's against pleasure. She's against happiness. Now, according to The New Royals, this wonderful book, and later corroborated in page 6 and The Times, page 6, by the way, an excellent entertainment website, and The Times newspaper of London, the Queen was deeply concerned that Meghan was not showing deference to the monarchy's established tone of service, leadership, and humility. Of course not. That's why she barely lasted 2 years. This incident reportedly left a lasting impression on palace insiders who began to fear Meghan had difficulty adjusting to the etiquette and interpersonal code of the royal family. It became a defining anecdote cited by aides who later formed part of what was known as the Sussex Survivors Squad. Though never officially confirmed by Meghan's team, the quote from the Queen is considered one of the most credible interventions that she made during the Sussexes' tenure as working royals. Don't forget that following the $3 million refit of Frogsmore Cottage, which wasn't good enough for Meghan Markle, who still felt that she was basically doing outdoor camping, even though you and I could only dream of living in a place like Frogsmore Cottage, let me tell you. A cottage? It ain't. Frogsmore Cottage ain't no cottage. It's a blinking palace is what it is. So $3 million worth of refurbishment paid for by the sovereign grant. Meghan became obsessed at that time with her privacy and privacy measures for the house. By the way, can I just remind you that she's on the Windsor estate, which is a compound which is 100% secure. So she's worried about her privacy. So she's requested extensive planting and screening from photographers and drones. She wants walls erected. And she wants a Donald Trump style wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it. Well, no, the British taxpayer is going to pay for it. She's like, I want that wall, and the British taxpayers are going to pay for it. So, I mean, why did she want the wall? Apparently, she wants shrubbery and she wants fences. She claimed for her privacy. But I wonder whether it's so that she could actually have a closed environment with which to control Harry and to run the show and to make it her kingdom. Was this stage one in freezing out the people around Harry and isolating him, which is what controlling and manipulative people do? She was then very lucky because we had a global health crisis, so she shipped him to America, and that was it. The boy was lost forever. We won't get him back, I fear. Let me know in the comments, will we get Harry back? Do you think if Harry divorces Megs, my husband, H, do you think, H boy, do you think that when they divorce, forget about if, when they divorce, will we get the old Harry back? Will he emerge from the rubble? Will he come out like a phoenix from the ashes and just say, sorry everyone, I made a big mistake, whoopsie daisy? Do you think that'll happen? Let me know in the comments. I think there's a chance it will, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Anyhow, so Meghan is on the Windsor estate. Frogmore's a dream. And during this period of redecoration and refurb, $3 million, she allegedly had a very unpleasant exchange with a young undergardener. Now, again, this is a lad that's going to be on a few dollars an hour. This is a humble chap, a junior member of the team, who's probably there just to kind of drag bags of soil around and shake pebbles onto the flower bed. Just simple, uncomplicated duties for perhaps a simple and uncomplicated lad. Someone that I would describe as a good regular human being, salt of the earth, somebody that Meghan has no truck with because she doesn't like real people. The only people she wants to be around are billionaires, royalty, famous actors. But even they are deserting her. I'll tell you about that in just a second. So the gardener was reportedly inadvertently working in the view of Meghan's window. How dare he? And within earshot of a conversation that Meghan was allegedly having. Meghan is said to have sharply told the gardener to move or stop what they were doing in a tone that was described as rude and dismissive. The young staffer was reportedly humiliated. Well, this is the pattern of behaviour, folks. And reported the incident to a supervisor. Why is she telling him to move on? Do you honestly think that a 20-something gardener on minimum wage cares what she's got to say and wants to listen in to her boring conversations about flower petals and about how terrible her life is at Frogsmore Cottage? Again, the Queen Elizabeth, had to interrupt her plans to basically redraw the map of the world and bring back the British Empire. Not the worst idea. Never say never. Well, do you think that she wanted to do that? So there's a second allegation that the Queen felt it was necessary to again, deal with this issue. Hugo Vickers, royal historian and commentator, said again the Queen personally addressed the matter with Meghan. She must have been sick of the sight of that young woman's face. The Queen once again emphasised the importance of treating even the most junior royal employees with respect. But there you go. Is that not absolutely shocking? Two separate authoritative examples of Meghan's appalling behaviour to people under her. And let's be honest, right? That's when she was in the royal household, when she wasn't in full control because it wasn't her family. It wasn't really her home as such. Frogmore was, but not the estate. That's how she behaved when she didn't have full control. Can you imagine how she talks to the staff now that she's in charge? And can you imagine how she talks to Harry? The mind boggles. Well, she'll be in a bad mood this week because Harry and Meghan have failed to make the Time Magazine 100 Philanthropy list. But do you know who's made it onto this list with Harry and Meghan brutally snubbed? The Prince and Princess of Wales. Bang! So Harry and Meghan were excluded from the new Times 100 Philanthropy list. They were expected to be on it. And of course, Meghan attended a high-profile Times summit in New York weeks earlier, where she gaslit and ignored her husband Harry, by the way. Prince William and Princess Catherine did make the list, so they are in the top 100, gaining praise for their social issues focus particularly around homelessness and early childhood development. Others that made the list: Oprah Winfrey, David Beckham, Warren Buffett, and Dolly Parton. Isn't Dolly Parton a gem? Working 9 to 5. I did 9 to 5 at a karaoke once. I discovered a couple of bars into the song that it's almost impossible to sing because it's got very high notes and it's very fast. Dolly Parton, Warren Buffett, billionaire. By the way, I told you in the last episode that I think the one thing that Meghan wants now is a rich husband. And she's looking for a rich man. Is Warren Buffett married? Because he would be her dream option. He's one of the richest men in the world, top 5 easily. And he's no spring chicken. So that is, Meghan is all over that like a rash. She would happily buff the Buffett, folks. Let me tell you, that poor old man wouldn't know what hit him. Warren Buffett would be buffed all over the place. It would be Buff Central. It would be Buffaroony. It would be Bufftastic. Meghan would be Buffett, the billionaire vampire slayer. Buffy time. The Buffster. The Warren boy. The bee job. I better stop there. Listen. She wants a billionaire. She would happily grab the Buffett. I'm sure he's happily married. He's a decent man. He's got a brain on him, so he'd run a mile. He can't run that fast, but he'd shuffle a mile very quickly. So Time Magazine praised William and Catherine. Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, are less concerned with cultural preservation and more attuned to social issues. Brilliant, isn't it? And the Sussexes get nothing. They get absolutely nothing. And the reason why is because magazines like Time, as well as platforms like Spotify, are actually running away from this toxic duo. They don't want to be involved with the Duke and Duchess of double standards because they're bad for business. It's horrible PR getting involved with the toxic Sussexes. And it's too funny because they've done so many very public charitable acts, virtue signalling, the Archwell Foundation. By the way, putting their eldest son's name in the name of their charity is creepy, it's narcissistic, it's arrogant, and it's terrible for the little boy. But what do they care? No ethics whatsoever. So they got the Archwell Foundation, they've got the Invictus Games, which half the war heroes can't stand Harry and Meghan because they've made the event all about them, with Meghan striding ahead in the parade. She's got injured servicemen behind her and women hobbling along, hopping on one foot, dragging their battered bodies along the parade while she strides with her full able body in a white trouser suit like she's Queen Boudica. whatever it is. I mean, seriously, do me a favour. So half of the Invictus faithful can't stand Harry and Meghan anyway, so forget that. Plus, by the way, Harry's very political speeches at the beginning of the Invictus Games in Canada, he made a speech and it was clearly a dig at US politics. It's like, you're a royal and this is a charity. Stay out of it. You know, half of America love the incumbent president, half detest him. So why take sides? And no one cares what you think anyway. You are, a privileged aristocrat who won the womb lottery is what happened. You just had the magic urethra, wasn't it? That's all that happened. You came out of a royal body. That's not an achievement. That's extraordinary historic luck. And now you're going to lecture Americans or Canadians or Brits or anyone else about how they vote or what their views are of the world? Do me a favor. So the Invictus thing, I think Harry's ruined it, to be quite honest with you. I really do. I think he's ruined it. Also, such a grumpy speech from the world's least happy millionaire. They've launched Travelist. I mean, that couple are not good at naming companies, are they? An eco travel company, non-profit, except that they go around in a private jet and they got a massive house with 16 bathrooms, but apparently they are environmentally friendly. Make it make sense. You know what? I might put some beef dripping in my decaf next time just to annoy Meghan Markle. My husband. There's not supposed to be egg in these snacks. Didn't I tell you? Don't you know who I am? I can't believe I'm not being paid to do this. Get out of the way! I'll do it myself. What they go through on the minimum wage. By the way, the other thing, Harry's expecting to be on this Time 100 philanthropy list, except that he's just dumped his own charity, Centre Marley, which is mired in controversy around crazy financial corruption and bullying allegations, including bullying allegations about Prince Harry himself, and plus the very fair point that he's barely visited Lesotho, where the charity is headquartered. So it's absolutely shocking and but hilarious. And it puts their noses out of joint, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and I couldn't be happier about it. Puts them in their place, just like the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom put Harry in his place with his request for royal protection, having criticised the royal family, attacked the country, and given up his royal duties. It's a great thing, isn't it, when reality and the Sussexes come together. Reality runs up your spine, and the pieces finally fit. So, delighted about that. Very happy. Quick couple of things before we go. First of all, Meghan is the Catherine copycat. Meghan copies Catherine 24/7. Meghan's obsessed with Catherine. She pretends that they're on good terms. Princess Catherine is my friend. I like Princess Catherine. Upon her, I wish no harm. But we know that she wishes enormous emotional harm on Princess Catherine. Allegations that she reduced Catherine to tears in the run-up to her wedding because Catherine was trying to get a dress size appropriate for her little girl, Charlotte. I think Meghan has made Catherine's life an absolute misery from the moment she arrived in Harry's life. I think Meghan has zeroed in on Princess Catherine. And I think if Meghan wants to destroy the royal family, well, that's certainly a view that I've got. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's guaranteed that she wants to destroy Catherine. Because Catherine is more princessy. She's more beautiful. She's more intelligent. She's more discreet. She's more loved. She's not a mother that peddles her children on social media for clicks. and Catherine would never utter a syllable of criticism of the royal family, even if, may God forbid, William and Catherine were to part. You know this, don't you? Again, let me know in the comments. If God, it's not going to happen. Don't worry. But if William and Catherine were to split, do you think Catherine would write a book about it? Do you think Catherine would talk to Oprah Winfrey? And do you think Catherine would do a documentary? And would Catherine have a podcast? Obviously not. You wouldn't hear a squeak out of Catherine because that's her nature. Anyway, so speaking of nature, Catherine loves nature. We know she's so committed to it. She's been committed to the cause of nature, how good it is for all of our health, including and especially children, for a long time now. It's a big theme of her lovely wedding anniversary trip to the Highlands of Scotland with her husband. By the way, that's how you do an anniversary. That's how you do a wedding anniversary, is a trip to Scotland with your husband, meeting locals, going for hikes, drinking Glenfiddich whiskey, or the Isle of Jura, or a wee dram, a wee drop of whiskey, a bowl of porridge, some haggis, neeps and tatties, and a wee dram of whiskey is what you do in Scotland. In your cult, you wear a cult. But that's what you do, and it was a lovely trip that they had. What does Meghan do? Puts a load of really personal photographs of her offspring onto the internet. And she's worried about her safety, and she yells at a gardener because she doesn't want photographers. And now she's publishing photographs of her children when they were really small. Something that I would never do with Elton and Bernie. Mainly because they're both good lads. They're not photogenic. It didn't work out face-wise. They're good people. They've got character and soul, personality, definitely. But, you know. So, Meghan, right? Anything that Catherine can do, Meghan can do better. On her terrible podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, she's been clearly watching Catherine, and now has decided that everything is a gardening metaphor. So she says that gardening is like running a business. She goes, some seasons are for blooming, others are for planting seeds, but most of the work, especially early on, it's tending to the soil. What is this fresh hell? I mean, she goes on, eventually with a strong vision and all of that care on the detail, oh, that garden will grow. Well, let me tell you, if the garden is a metaphor for life, then Meghan Markle is unwanted Japanese knotweed, is what she is. Meghan Markle is human knotweed, isn't it? When you find out you've got a bit of Meghan Markle in the garden, your house value is going to collapse, there's going to be subsidence, and you won't get rid of the stuff. Because Meghan Markle is Japanese knotweed. Not weed. Knock on wood. Japanese knocky weedy. And this gardening analogy came just 2 weeks after Princess Catherine launched her Mother Nature video series, which used seasonal and natural imagery. In her video, Catherine said, reconnect to nature and celebrate a new dawn within our hearts. You see, that is a great sentence. That's not a word salad, is it? Let's finish on this wonderful news. Princess Catherine, to celebrate her recovery from cancer, surprised everybody by attending her first Buckingham Palace garden party in 2 years. Catherine is back. And isn't it great to have her back? Isn't it the greatest blessing in the world? So this event marked her first garden party since entering cancer remission after missing the entire 2024 season due to treatment when she was incredibly unwell. She looked stunning. In fact, let's have a mic drop for her outfit, shall we? Here we go. She wore a butter yellow Emilia Wickstead dress. I've got one of those. I've got 3 Emilia Wickstead dresses. Unfortunately, I've been leaning on the carbohydrates recently, and it's a bit of a squeeze to get into them. Paired with a Philip Treacy hat. I had to Google how you spell that man's name. He's an Irish milliner, probably the most famous hat maker in the world. and seems like a real character. And so here's the thing. She wears this butter yellow Emilia Wickstead dress, which suits her, and it's recycled. I don't mean that it's come from old polyester. I mean that she's worn it previously, because she doesn't waste a thing. Princess Catherine is like Queen Elizabeth. She's frugal, and that's a charming trait. She keeps her clothes. She buys good clothes. She keeps them, and she rewears them. And that is great messaging. It's great environmental messaging because, you know, I'm not the biggest, most crazily obsessed green person ever. I think there's quite a debate to be had around some of the measures around net zero. I think there's at least a debate to be had there, a conversation. Yes, we've got global warming, we've got pollution, we've got lots of problems. I totally agree. But one thing we can definitely agree on, notwithstanding debates around net zero and all of that, is that throwing stuff away is bad. I think we can all agree about that. And there's Catherine showing that sort of leadership where she rewears her clothes, which is great for us normal folk because we don't feel so bad re-wearing our clothes. Because I think it's a bit disconcerting when celebrities are always wearing a different outfit, like every day of their whole lives is a different outfit. It makes us feel a little bit underserved, doesn't it? But Catherine doesn't do that. She's one of us. She wears her dresses over and over again. Just like there's one other person, there's three people that are known for it. Queen Elizabeth, the late, Catherine, and who's the third that recycles her clothes wonderfully? Princess Anne. We're going to do a no-nonsense Princess Anne special very soon. Watch this space. So that's great. The colour that she wore is dubbed Shade of the Season. Well, whatever Catherine's wearing is the shade of the season for me. The dress was previously worn by the princess at St. Paul's Cathedral during Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. And that's a wonderful thing. But here's the big, big mic drop. Her hat, adorned with yellow flowers by the Irish milliner Philip Treacy, this wonderful hat with yellow flowers on it, is also recycled. It's also something she's worn previously at Harry and Meghan's wedding in 2028. Sorry, 2018. I got a bit carried away there. Princess Catherine has dropped a bomb. She has pressed the nuclear button. She has worn the hat that she wore to Harry and Meghan's wedding in 2018 for her first appearance at Buckingham Palace in 2 years. And this is absolutely clear messaging to Meghan Markle. And you know the messaging, and the messaging is in 2 words. And it's back off. That's what Catherine is saying with that hat to Meghan. Back off, sister. Back right off. And if you don't, I will take you down. You know where she'll take her down. I will take you down to Chinatown is where you'll be going for East Asian cuisine. Very oily, very heavy, quite calorific, but tasty. Makes you thirsty. You'll wake up in the night. Monosodium glutamate, not ideal. So that's it. It's unbelievable messaging from Catherine because she's worn it on the same week as Harry and Meghan's wedding anniversary. She's trolling the couple. It's a flex. I'm a Londoner. It's what we would call a wind-up. She's on a wind-up. She's trolling the Sussexes. And she's saying, actually, I control this narrative. I'm in charge here. I've got the story. I'm the author. I'm the publisher. I'm the reader. I am the book. And you are nothing. You are a footnote. You are the ISBN number on the back of this story, baby. You're a footnote. And she means business, and I'm so proud of her, and it's an explosive move. And let me tell you, there's a lot more where that came from. Catherine means what she's saying here. It's a statement of intent. A line has been drawn in the sand. Watch this space. Folks, it's been great to talk. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I cannot wait to see you for the next one. Bye for now.